This segment has been sponsored by Pro Bikes Caribe. Pro Bikes Caribe, get yours today. Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. Today we have with us Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, thank you for agreeing to be interviewed by Tropical Literature Creatives today.
Thank you for having me here today, Kevin. Appreciate it very much.
Okay. Well, for those of you all who are just tuning in, Dr. Williams is the author of not one, not two, not even three, but four books. At this time, Dr. Williams, can you tell us a little bit about the books that you would have written?
Sure. So the first book is Fighting Your Goliaths, a small biography of my life, overcoming trauma and trials, having what it takes to be victorious. I was very transparent so that others can have hope in terms of transformation. The second book, A 7-Day Devotional, is one that came out of my everyday writing as I spend time, you know, um, based on my faith, spending time with God. I developed that book. And the third one, which is It's a Soul Issue, for a lot of times I would find myself interacting with persons dealing with different things in life and unable to identify it. It's a soul issue deals with things that we deal with on a daily basis, particular emotions and feelings, even from both the spiritual side and the psychological side, more the spiritual side of things. And then it's my healing journey journal. That journal actually was written unknowingly to be a journal. I would say I was ill, very ill, and questions just came to me, very deep, a dark place in my life. And these questions I did not realize were questions that was developing a journal for healing, emotional healing, that is. And so it is considered therapy in a book for persons who wish not to go to a therapist, but there are deep questions that will be asked whereby they can write that in confidence. So two things are happening there. You're journaling as well as you're being honest in terms of answering questions that a psychologist or a therapist may ask you.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like some persons have like a kit at home when it is that, something happens, they try before they get to the actual, doctor or physician,
Yes.
you see if you can fix it on your own. You pull out your band-aid,
Yes.
with your methylated spirits, you clean the wound, you put the plaster, and then you go to seek professional assistance. And they're like, but you did such a good job. I mean, we just had to, improve on what it is that you already did. It sounds like stuff like that. Uh,
That's correct.
so my other question is, I mean, when it is that a person does a search for your name, we come across titles such as author, trauma coach, educator, international speaker. So, Mike, I have to ask this question. There are 24 hours in a day. When do you get the time?
I totally believe in time management and daily routines. Planning your day well. I believe in planning, not that you stick to a plan or you stick to a schedule because things can happen, but at least when you have that in place, even though you thwart from it a bit, you're still able to get things done. I don't stay long on one thing. I do it task by task and I assign an allotted time for the task that has to be done. When that time is done, it is done. That came over a period of time, though.
Okay, so it sounds like something that you had to put into practice, like a habit that you developed over time.
Discipline. That's correct. Self mastery is so important for success.
Okay, okay. Um, so I was going to, one of my questions is, are persons full-time authors? So I guess that question is out of the window. So yeah. Mm. Uh, but
Yeah,
but
I'm
in
not a full-time author.
not a full-time author, but was writing something that you were always good at, or is it something that you found yourself, put into a role doing based on the jobs that you do?
Recently, and I mean recently as in about 3 years ago, I really acknowledged that my writing started from primary school. I
Ah,
remember receiving a lot of awards on a Saturday for my lessons class for creative writing.
mm-hmm.
And but when I started, it was not the best. However, after a period of time, I realized that my imagination would stretch so much that I would continuously write, and sometimes it's like too much. I was writing a lot more than my age. I remember one of my teachers saying to me, Summer, where do you get these thoughts and these stories? And for a while I would have rested down, but I've always been called upon to speak or to write speeches. And then I realized, listen, oh my God, you're right. So I think in my maturity and in my maturation stages of life, my writing, of course, would have improved. And my first challenge in terms of really seeing my capability was in the production of my first book, Fighting No Goliaths in 2015.
Uh, okay. Uh, I mean, with 4 books on their belt, I guess that, you'd have been acquainted with the process, so with each book being done, the process became easier to do. Is that the case?
That's correct. It became easier, but it's still a tedious task.
Okay.
So, and being self-published is really difficult at times, particularly with time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but in terms of doing it, as long as you do it the first time, the second time, the third time, it becomes okay, this is the drill.
Okay, but having done it so many times, one, do you think that you need the assistance of like editors to go over your work still?
Definitely, even with self-publishing, I would have gotten persons to edit. Some persons, they were in their internship as doing research, and I would have gotten persons who are graduating from their master's program who would have done some editing for me. But then I believe my second or my third book, I would have gotten an actual editor who that's their job. And the one that I'm currently writing, which is for built to bounce back, that one I'm actually outsourcing everything to do it. But I did get editors to look at the work before.
Okay. And in terms of, the self-publishing aspect, do you think that you're proficient to the point where you can actually teach others about the self-publishing process?
Yes, I believe I can. I actually helped one of my colleagues about a month ago to publish her very first book.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking at the covers of your books, and you're telling me that you're self-published. Are you also maybe a graphic designer? Are you involved in that level, in that part of the development of the book, or do you just, leave that part to someone else? You just strictly confine yourself to the writing?
Actually, the graphics me, Canva became my friend.
Keeping it real, doctor, keeping
Keeping
it
it
real,
real,
keeping it real.
yes. You see, when there's a desire and when there is, you know, there's a burden inside of you to get things done, you have to go at all costs. And sometimes you may not be in that place financially to do it. Do you sit and say, well, I don't have the finances? Or do you find a way to get it done? And that was me at that point in time in my life. I just knew that this script has to be out because there's a message and it's hope for somebody else. And are you going to sit there and wait? No, but because eventually, at some point in time, you would be able to pay someone to do it. But in the meantime, there is creativity that is tapped inside of us that we don't see until we get into spaces like these, and we just have to do it ourselves.
Okay, okay. Um, are you part of any writing groups on like social media or any physical groups who meet up and talk and discuss topics?
Actually, no, I'm not. Well, I was a part of a group, but again, I wasn't committed. Not that the group wasn't serving any purpose. I just was not committed. But it is my intent in this season of my life to really get more involved in terms of writers group because I want to do some more writing.
Okay. Do you see yourself needing to like maybe a mentor or like certain aspects of your writing that you need like guidance or brushing up on?
Yes, for sure. Especially with the script, sometimes I feel like there is more I can do in terms of even more, not the script rather, I believe more of the marketing of the book. So the book is
Um,
produced, the book is out there, but how many persons know it's there? And it takes great strategy and technique in terms of promoting the book, marketing the book, and really allowing the book to produce or generate revenue, not just send a message, but generate the revenue that it can or potentially can produce. So mentorship there in that area in terms of promoting the book and getting it out there, ways the book can be promoted, definitely mentorship.
when you were putting these books together, uh, did you foresee the work that you would have had to do? And by work, I mean marketing, figuring out creative ways to get the word out about your book, etc. Because there's a recurring theme when it is I'm talking with authors. Some of them, think in the earlys, it's really important to get the book out. And when they get the book out, no one told them, that, they had to market and promote the book, pretty much on their own to get the word out. Something that, a lot of authors find themselves doing. And there's a term that is used, authorpreneurship. That's the term. So they
Hmm.
find themselves, being entrepreneurs as well as authors and, figuring
Yeah,
it out as they go along. Was this the case with you?
that's for sure. I just always thought, you write the book, you put it out there. But the truth is, in your mind and in your world, it is out there, but others doesn't know that it's out there. So you definitely have to promote the book and find ways. Networking is a big deal. I'm connected to an author coach. She's a coach for authors, particularly out in Jamaica. And it is in my contact with her, I understood the kind of work that needs to be done in order to get the books out there. So I definitely just thought it was you produce the book, you write the script, it's complete. Yeah, I wrote a book. But then how do you get it to households? How do you get it in front of the faces of persons who need it? It's
Hmm.
definitely marketing strategy and networking. Networking is a big deal.
Okay, okay. And how has this been working out for you so far? Have you been able to get your books out to, for example, certain bookstores in your community, or has it been it hasn't been has it not been a smooth process?
For bookstores, has not been a smooth process. I remember going to numerous bookstores. I remember one of the customer service reps at the bookstore said, "Well, we don't really know, who are you, so we're not going to take the risk." And
Ooh.
but my speaking engagements allow for the books that I wrote to have a platform to be sold.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So outside of bookstores, and I'm really not, I don't target bookstores to be honest, but
mm-hmm.
based on my work as a trauma coach, when I'm dealing with clients, when I'm speaking in international spaces, any opportunity that I get to represent my brand in general, I
Mm-hmm.
allow for the opportunity to pitch my books because my books cater a lot to what I do, which is trauma coaching and training and development, personal and professional development. So a lot of times the opportunity presents itself when I go to speak, or if I'm a facilitator for a particular organization, I'm allowed to throw in there, books that are available.
Okay, it does make sense. Uh, in some instances, or some of the workshops that you facilitate, do your books serve as good material to be used in some of these workshops?
Yes, actually, some of the topics I'm covering in my workshops are parts of my book. So I would say, for example, I recently did an introduction to trauma from the lens of being trauma informed. And part of that session came out of my recent journal because I was speaking about journaling and the importance of it in terms of healing and recovery. So it allowed for me to promote the book. And some of the persons who would have had the book was a part of the session that could have given a testimonial as to the worth of the book and the value that it has given them in their healing process.
Mm. In terms of getting copies of your books, in addition to probably Amazon and attending one of your speaking engagements, where can persons get copies?
On my website www.sewglobal.biz. That website, my website. So if you're looking for me, you're looking for my website, all of my products, my inspirational products, my books, every single thing that I do and I have as a product or service is provided there.
Okay. In terms of your books, I did some looking and I saw that each of them, even though they're sort of intertwined, where they may follow a particular theme, I saw some are along the lines of personal transformation for one, another one is a memoir or slash biography, another one is a devotional. Um, when you switch between genres like this, is it something easy for you to do, or does it require like additional thought, or you have to put on like your um devotional cap or your memoir cap, or how does that work for you?
I believe because I am multi-gifted and multifaceted, it is not as challenging. So according to the season of my life or where I'm at the time, it makes it very easy to just write and it comes very natural.
Mm,
So yeah, I believe because of that. Sometimes it's frustrating because being multifaceted or multi-talented or gifted, sometimes you don't know what to do at the point in time. So something runs into another thing, and then it's like, okay, no, I want to focus on this right now. But generally, it comes naturally.
okay. For persons who are listening to this podcast, who are up and coming authors, who may want to attempt something like what you're doing, that is, writing a book, what advice would you give to them having finished 4 books yourself?
Always have your pen and paper ready to write because the ideas come anywhere at any time. Do not restrict yourself to one place to have your thoughts. Um, don't restrict yourself in relation to where you are. So, for example, if you're in a maxi, if you're in a bus, if you're in the plane, always have your book and your pen because the thoughts come. There is something out there that will trigger your writing juices, and you will begin. You just always have your pen and your paper. Also, do not overthink it after all on your mind is written, then you think about putting it in order. A lot of times one of the things that I've seen is that we so focus on putting it together as it comes to us, it frustrates us. But I call it your dump sheet or your dump spread. Anything you have, just write it. And then it begins to make sense when you start to read and edit and put it together. Don't overthink the process. And another thing is do not compare yourself. Sometimes what we tend to do is look at others and instead of using it as a benchmark, we use it as a big stick that we're not doing enough or we're not doing it like this one. Mentorship, connections, networking will help in that process. But at the same time, those of you who are desiring to write, just start. Don't wait for an opportune time. Yes, you will have writer's block sometimes, but just start the process. If you are telling yourself, I need to write a book, I need to write a book, I need to write a book, and you're not writing, then the book will always be, I need to write a book. It will still be in your head. All right. So, as I said, always have your pen and your book or your writing material or your phone, your notepad, wherever your thoughts can be written down. Do not overthink, do not compare yourself, and ask for help. Asking for help does not mean you're not good enough. Asking for help means that you're well on your way for success.
Okay, thank you for that. Uh, we're in June now, which is like we're near the halfway mark of 2024. What should we expect from you, doctor, for the rest of 2024?
Well, I have my book that is due to launch in July, which
Ah,
is Built to Bounce Back. Right now, I'm just finishing up the bits and pieces of the end. So that is supposed to launch in the end of July, early August. Still debating on the date. I have my women's conference, which is a conference I hold every year.
mm-hmm.
I'm having that in October, October 26th. And I have some speaking engagements outside of Trinidad and Tobago starting from July. So July 20th, I have a speaking engagement in Tobago. Then I have one in Atlanta and then somewhere in the US again until the end of the year. So a lot more speaking engagements. And then my personal workshops that I have every month or every other month, I do a workshop, whether that is a free workshop or a workshop that has a fee attached. But every month I try to do a workshop.
Okay, fantastic. So we have a lot of stuff to look out for the next part of the year.
That's correct. And I'm excited.
Okay. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of our interview. Our listeners, Dr. Summer Edwards Williams, author of not one, not two, but several books. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity. I wish you all the best.
Okay, likewise. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.